Horizons is dying. Trust me, I don't like saying it either. It's been a wonderful addition to a well-loved franchise and brought a ton of new mechanics we haven't seen in previous titles. Given the game is no longer being supported with new updates, now feels like a good time to talk about what we would like the next title to look like. Recently there have been rumours of a new console possibly coming out sometime next year, and that means we could be getting a new Animal Crossing sooner than we think. Whilst I know there are still things I think the team need to fix in New Horizons, I thought it would be fun to talk about some of the things I'd like to see in the next Animal Crossing game. One thing I would love to see in the next Animal Crossing is an extension to a mechanic we have right now. Does anyone remember the data mine for finding out Brewster's was going to be a thing, and we all got excited for a new coffee shop? Is that just me? I would love to see more buildings added into the game to represent the different NPCs. This was something we had in New Leaf with the town street that was at the back of the town we had, but the developers decided to condense this, so we got Harv's Island and the Travelling Merchants, but we still kept Nook Sables and the museum as the core buildings on our islands. This may just be a me thing, but I feel like there is a sameness to our islands as a result of only having these 3 buildings. I would love to see more options for different NPCs so I can design my island in a way that is unique to me. This could even be extended so players have the ability to choose what buildings they have on their island, and anything they don't want just becomes a travelling vendor. This would allow more storytelling abilities on our islands and give us more options in terms of who we really want to interact with. Completed your museum or don't want to listen to Blathers blathering on again about his hatred of bugs? Bye bye Birdie. Now you can bring Leaf in and enjoy time with your favourite sloth. Maybe you have dreams of making him a stunning outdoor garden centre to fit back to your theme. I think giving more options to players will just enhance the AC experience, and I would love to see this added to the next game. Crafting in New Horizons is technically not a new concept. We had it in Pocket Camp and players liked it, so the developers moved it into New Horizons. Almost like Pocket Camp was a test for this new gameplay mechanic to the series or something. I love crafting items to use around my island, and I want this to stay in future titles. But there's one thing which needs to be introduced which will make the crafting experience so much better for me and other players. I need bulk crafting. It was apparent right at the start of the game that not having this feature was an issue. Having to mash the A button to get through the lengthy menus we have just to craft something like fish bait is crazy, and I would love the developers to add bulk crafting in. Games that have released since New Horizons, like Disney Dreamlight Valley, have added bulk crafting in, and it makes such a difference to the gameplay. Nintendo doesn't want us using Treasure Islands for items, but the lack of bulk crafting is one of the reasons why players use them. We don't want to sit through the same crafting menus over and over again when we can just get the items we need easily. As much as I don't think crafting is going to go anywhere, if Nintendo really doesn't make this change, I would be really surprised, as it would really improve the gameplay experience for players overall. New Horizons has a long-established tool system that is replicated in basically all cozy games. The tools we have form that foundation and cover all of our farming, mining, and fishing needs. But there's something I've noticed in other games that I think would make the next Animal Crossing better than New Horizons. In my video on why New Horizons is my favourite game, I touched on pocket space being an issue, and that's really a twofold problem. I would love more pocket space to hold more items so I can design whatever I would like. But as much as I would like to see an extra row added for holding items, I don't actually think this is the best solution. We have the tool wheel for easy accessibility, but our tools are still accessed directly from our pockets, so we have to lose space in our personal inventory just to carry the basic tools we need for daily gameplay. Other games like Palia and DDV have addressed this issue by locking the tools to the tool wheel in the game, so they don't actually take any space in the inventory. I've been thinking about this more recently, and it seems baffling that the dev team behind New Horizons made this decision for Animal Crossing when the clothing we wear sits in its own separate submenu in our inventory. In the next Animal Crossing, if they move tools into the tool wheel for us to access, I think that would be better in helping players actually make use of all the tools more regularly. At the moment, we have this constant tussle between whether we carry an extra shovel or take an extra set of customization kits to finish our decorating. If the tools were moved out of the inventory, This would free up more space for us to hold items we actually want to use. And it could ease up some of the complaints we have about our pockets never being big enough for everything we want to use. One feature added into New Horizons that I love and am also not a fan of in equal measure is villager hunting. I like having the ability to find a villager I want to move into my island rather than leaving it entirely up to chance who is going to take an empty home. However, Nintendo did leave us the ability to autofill in the game, which is a smart move given we don't always find a villager we want. However, I think there's one big feature that's been overlooked that I would love to be expanded on in the next game. The moving queue. For those who aren't familiar, every player's island has an invisible feature which villagers sit in before deciding to fill an empty plot. If you don't find a villager whilst hunting, the game goes into your moving queue and pulls out one of those villagers and puts them into the empty plot. You have no say in who takes it, and there's no easy way to find out who is actually in there. The only ways to really work out who is in there are to completely empty your queue by autofilling, or by using some crazy amount of tickets to try and find every villager in the game. I think there's actually a better way of doing this. And this is where I think Isabelle could come in handy. Currently, Isabelle's main job in New Horizons is to oversee the admin of the island. Most players only seem to really use her to find out what their star rating is. I would love it if Isabelle gave us a bit more visibility of the moving queue. You could potentially talk to her and ask about island applications, and she would tell you the names of villagers who would like to move onto the island. Or, if Nintendo didn't want to remove the surprise element completely, maybe Isabelle could just give us one name. Getting better visibility of the queue, I think, would be a great feature, and it would give us more control over our games. If I got a name of someone in my queue and I didn't like them, I would know to keep looking to find my dreamie. Or if you like the villager you see in your queue, you could start designing a personal garden for them to welcome them onto the island. Something that was expanded and improved on in New Horizons in comparison to previous titles is the multiplayer gameplay. This was definitely the right call given how limited the multiplayer experience was in New Leaf, but the New Horizons multiplayer is not exactly the best. From long loading screens, lack of options and connection issues, it's more challenging to actually engage with our friends in comparison to other games, and this is the big one that I think Nintendo really needs to address. Given the focus on decorating with New Horizons, I'm really surprised that Nintendo never added a feature for us to build out our islands with our friends. This is something I often see players talking about in the community, and I really think it needs to be in the next game. At the moment, our friends can only really help us out by pulling weeds until we give them permission to use a shovel and an axe to help us clear an island. I'm not the best decorator in the world, and sometimes could do with some guidance in completing an island. I would be better able to do this by inviting a group of friends to my island to help me with terraforming, waterscaping, or placing paths. But sadly, this isn't something we have in this version of the game. When I see the scope of collaborative online play in the likes of Dinkum, I would like to think the Animal Crossing team are paying attention to the community wanting more options to decorate together. I'm not saying we should get free rein to go to someone's island and have the ability to dig up all the flowers and chop down orchards or box our favourite villagers into a forgotten corner of our island. But giving your trusted friends the ability to help out with decorating, I think would be a fun mechanic. I'm not the best decorator in the world, and it would be fun to have a more experienced friend come over and place down another item for me to try in a build, or to help me fix my awful river, or just laugh at my complete incompetence when I try and terraform the edge of the cliff for a millionth time. Expanded multiplayer, I think, is going to be key in keeping people invested in the next title and improve the game's longevity. This is the big one that I think Nintendo needs to get right in the next game, whether that's reintroducing the minigames we lost from New Leaf, or giving us better options for collaborative gameplay. New Horizons isn't perfect, and there are definitely things I think could be done to make the next game better. I've told you what I think could be a good introduction, but what do you think? What is the one feature you would like to see added to the next game? Let's share our ideas below, and I'll see you in the next one.